Welcome to In the Spotlight with Amy Scruggs, where we feature great artists, entrepreneurs, community leaders, and, well, anyone that should have that moment to share their story in the spotlight. Happy Thursday. This is so much fun. I love impromptu go live. Whoever's there, I want you to know that I have Rachel King sitting in the hot seat. She's one of my most favorite humans on the planet. I have to say that. We love Rachel so much. And so I said, let's go live. Will you come live with me? She is the founder, owner, and head of the Lawyer King, King's law firm, Rachel King. So I have a lawyer here right now. Anybody with legal questions, you put it in the comment. We could get it answered right now. But Rachel, thank you for being so willing to do this. I know you've been in court all week.
Oh, I have. It's been a trial week. I'm super happy that I finished up a trial that we've had going on. The case has been going on for 5 years. So yay to me, but I am in jeans today.
I think I'm in my sweats. I can honestly say that's what's happening today. But here's the thing. We're coming off of Valentine's Day, and I thought, what better to celebrate love than to talk about family law? Because not everybody had a blissful, wonderful Valentine's Day. And there's so much with family law and kind of putting you in the hot seat that we can discuss what are some of the things taking place right now, what people should know in some strategic categories. If you have a question and you're with us live, feel free to go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'll see if she can give you some quick feedback.
Because everybody loves each other in family law.
Everybody loves each other.
Everybody gets them.
Happy Valentine's Day.
So there's a lot of stuff that's going. Well, family law is always like a really hot ticket because whether you have children and are married or have children and are divorced or just have children, there's always like a lot that goes into that. And it can be really stressful, Amy. But I thought something that we would talk about, because actually I learned it. So the funny thing is everybody assumes as attorneys we know everything all the time, and we don't. We have to look it up. But I learned this a couple of weeks ago, and it's one of those things that makes sense, but until you put it all together, it was like the aha moment. So we had a few years ago, the laws changed where we're going to talk health insurance and kids, where health insurance companies had to continue to cover your children up to 26 years old. You remember that?
Okay. I do.
And
because I've added up the ages of my older kids. I'm like, are they still covered? What's okay?
Yeah. Can they still be covered?
How many years do I still have you covered?
Exactly. And that was really helpful for a lot of people, right? Because now when they're 18, they're not just dropped off. They have till 26. But here's where it gets interesting in family law. Family law court orders for custody and visitation, family law orders for child support in California go until the child is 18, graduates high school, but not older than 19, right? So we've got this law in place. And that is, at that point, the court does not have control over child support anymore. So here's the scenario. Parent one, I always go with husbands or dads because I'm the mom. So dad is the parent that covers the kids on health insurance. Your children turn 18. Dad says, peace out. I don't want to pay for your health insurance anymore. You cannot, as mom, ask the court to order that he covers them. He absolutely
takes them
off. So that sucks.
That's not common knowledge, is it?
No. And you think, oh, it's 26. Like the kids will stay on, but nope, the other parent can kick them off. There's nothing the court can do. The court does not have jurisdiction to force a parent to keep the kids on health insurance until they're 26 years old.
Oh my goodness. You know, family law is such an interesting thing because you deal with people at the most emotional heightened time. And I'm sure every case is that in any category that you are handling litigation. But when we talk about family law, everybody is always just so intense in wanting to make sure that they have all their rights. What are some of the misconceptions? Because I remember back in the day when I was going through the season where a lot of friends were divorcing with small kids. It was this weird season that took place. And so you would hear all the scuttle and conversations. And I was always be like, oh, I know I'll get full custody. Oh, because he's a so-and-so. Or the husband like, no way, she's a horrible mother. So I know that I can have the kids most of the time. I think there are a lot of incidences where people think that they just all of a sudden have these rights. Is that what you notice as well? Let's talk about that.
Well, I think the difference in family law, the laws have changed quite a bit. It used to absolutely be that mothers were preferred over fathers. We're kind of getting away from that now. So that's really good. There's a presumption that both parents are super important in a child's life. But I think where it gets mucky is when you're talking to other people about their situation, it's really easy to stay neutral. It's really easy to be like, yeah, but dad's not so bad, so he should have the kids. Or, mom is this, but, she still deserves to have time. But when it comes to you and your kids, we get so emotional that the emotions kind of overcome all sense of, logic and reality. So that makes it really challenging. It's like, well, they're my kids. I know what's best. And that can be a hard thing to overcome. They're not your kids. They're two people's children.
Right.
And
right.
We all think we know best, right? And you probably do want what's best, but that doesn't mean that the other parent doesn't. What I always joke with clients, I call it a joke. They may not take it as a joke, but I would say each parent has the right to screw up their children as much as they want within the confines of the health and safety codes, right? So no abuse, no neglect, none of that. But otherwise, screw them up, right?
Okay, I asked none of my kids to jump into the comments at this point. Just tune out.
Look, we all are gonna, you're gonna screw up your kids at some point. But for example, I'll use myself. I'm married and I have no plans on getting divorced, but I still, Amy, think I'm the better parent, right? I'm convinced
of course.
that I'm the better parent. And it drives me up the wall, even happily married, that my husband will let the kids stay on the computer too long or stay on the television all weekend and never force them to go outside, get them fast food, let them eat junk food. That drives me up the wall. And I love him. I cannot imagine how irritated and probably pissed I would be if we were getting divorced and now he wanted the kids all weekend.
Right.
My natural reaction would be like, really? Because you're going to let them sit around, stay on the television, eat crap. You're not going to do anything.
No boundaries.
But that doesn't matter.
Right. And I'm sure that's what you're hearing a lot of clients saying, or a lot on both sides, correct?
Right. And he gets, so that's when I say you get to screw up your kids. If that they get to sit and watch TV all the time at the other parent's house, oh well. Just be the best parent that you can be, but it's not enough to remove custody or visitation time. That's kind of the bottom line. And that's where the emotions get all tied up in it. It's not enough to take time away from the other parent.
You see this over and over and over and over again. What is the most common result? Is it really the 50-50 that the judges are looking for? What are the most common results? And where does it step outside where it goes to those extremes where then you can say, okay, in this case, maybe is where we see it lean that other direction, either way?
So I don't think that there is a common custody arrangement. I think it's really based on best interest. And there's this overarching philosophy now that it's important for children to have a relationship with both parents to the extent that they can. And I think that's rooted in the fact that if there's an absent parent, that's going to cause more psychological impacts than maybe having a relationship with like a crappy parent, right?
Sure.
So I will say that the courts try and have an equal time, but by equal, it's not 50-50. In fact, don't ever say 50-50. Everybody thinks you're talking about money when you bring up 50-50 when it comes to timeshare. I think they want it to be as much time as you can spend with your kids. So if you're a trucker and you're driving across the country, it's probably not feasible for you to have a truly equal timeshare because you're going to be gone. But when you're here in town, let's get you your child as much as possible, right? Mm-hmm. Based on the work environment, based on the real life factors, I think the courts, and that's what I see over and over again, is the courts trying to get both parents as much time as they can, given all of life circumstances. And for every family, that really varies because we all have different things going on in our lives.
Everybody needs to just rein it in a little bit and look at their life and circumstance because it's all going to work out, isn't it? I mean, doesn't it?
Kids are so resilient. I mean, I'm a child of divorce. My parents were divorced, and I had the very typical out-of-state custody arrangement where I would go to my dad's over the summer and holidays, and I'm fine, right?
Right.
And I think for the most part, as much as we don't want to admit it, our children are so resilient. And if you do the best that you can as a parent when you have them and you love them and you support them, then the fact that they have the parents that aren't living together or even in the same state don't see, they're going to be fine.
Right.
And on the flip side, if you have the Disneyland parent that doesn't do much, the kids find out about that too. So you don't need to tell your 6-year-old how bad the other parent is. They'll figure it out when they're 18.
Figure it out later. It's the truth. That is the truth. You know, I know there's a lot that always comes up when it's talking about the holiday schedule, holidays, and everybody kind of gets really intense about that. What do you advise couples when they're so worried about fighting over the holidays, all of them?
Well, we just got out of the holidays, so
Right.
that consumed quite a bit of my time is other people's holiday schedules. It's really important to, I think, generally for us to say, I want to have Christmas Day, if you celebrate Christmas, with my kids. I want that. But what I see over and over again I'm not a psychologist. I'm not like a counselor. I have no training in that whatsoever. But what I see over and over again is that kids don't really care if they're spending Christmas on the 25th of December with mom. They just want the activity or the experience, right? And they don't care where it is. So to the extent that you can share the holidays so that both parents can celebrate in the way that they want to, that's all the kids really want.
Right.
And ultimately, the court's going to force the shared time. But kids just want time. They don't care where it is. I started giving my kids ditch day coupons for the holidays, and they get to go and do something fun with me, just the two of us. And that's really, I mean, my kids really like it. And when I see those kind of experiences go on in my clients that are going through a divorce or going through a child custody battle, it usually ends up having the children stay calmer, and it ultimately has my client calm down and through the custody proceedings, because they realize that they still are able to maintain their connection with their child.
Right. What do you advise? And I know this is a big loaded question here, but somebody comes to you that's heightened emotion, that's the beginning stages of starting this family law time. What are some of those initial things that you tell them to prepare for?
I tell clients they need to have their own emotional support system. That's really important. And there's two parts to the emotional support system. There's the friends and family that are going to be your cheerleader and are going to say you're right all the time and are going to pick you up and support everything you do, good and bad.
Right.
But it's also just as important when you're going through a family law situation to align yourself with a support system that can say, no, you're wrong. I don't know that you should word it that way. You're overreacting a little bit, because they can be almost more valuable than anybody else. So an emotional support system through the proceedings, and then really understanding, the second one is really understanding your rights and the laws. I think the sooner people understand the laws in family law and what that looks like in their situation, the sooner they will be able to come to terms with it and understand what the expectation is.
Takes the guessing out and some of that emotion. It brings that down, that heightened intensity, correct?
And yeah, you cannot like it, right? People don't like what I tell them all the time, right? I'm like, you're paying spousal support for the rest of their life.
Like it or not.
But you get the Band-Aid ripped off, you hear it, then we start to create, what does that look like for you? And what does your life after this process look like? And how can we shape it to be the best, put you in the best position that we can? If you're living a false narrative about how you expect post-divorce life to be, or what you expect the division or the custody to look like, you're never going to reach an agreement, and you're going to be miserable through the entire process. So the sooner we can get that out of the way, the better.
I love it. Rachel, for everyone watching this live and those that are going to see it later, because it's going to stay here on the feed, which is fantastic, please explain just the areas that you really do specialize with King Law Firm, and then also the states that you specialize in, because that's important. Ooh, and we're going to talk about that next time as well. Remind me, next time we're going to talk about how you do law in multiple states, but go for it.
Yeah. So let me just do my little lawyer disclaimer. I don't specialize. Specialize is a California State Bar term that you have to qualify for. So and do special things. So I can't say specialized. But
okay, cancel that. I did not say it.
I'm a strategic litigator in family law, probate and trust litigation, and real estate litigation. So that basically means if you're in court and you're looking for an attorney that can really help position you and your case in the best possible way to present your story so that we get the outcome you're looking for in a very strategic and strategic. That's the only word I have. It's been a long week. And that's what I do.
I'm taking it out.
And then, in California. I practice in California, Arizona, Kentucky, and Texas.
That's amazing. We're going to talk about that next time when we go live, how you split yourself in 4 states, because it's really cool how this works with today's virtual world. So I think that's going to be a really powerful conversation. But for everybody watching this, I have to tell you, Rachel is as amazing inside as she is outside. She is the smartest, most dynamic woman I have ever met. And she is the best. And I wouldn't have her here on these platforms if I really didn't believe that. I'm absolutely saying, if you have any questions, you want to speak to an attorney for any of these areas of law, please reach out to Rachel. Reach me. I will get you in touch with her, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much.